so bad we smell.
We take turns choosing the games that we review.
Even Mario's Hotel. Come on, characters, nobody likes you. Let desire fuel your confidence.
Are you ready for our Game Weekly?
Come on, we talking
We ain't getting paid for this shit.
This is We Talk Games Arcade Weekly, an arcade review show brought to you each Monday free of charge from your friends over at WeTalkGames.com. And pew, 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 it's Shmuptember. It's slurp, 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 slurptember. I'm your host, Kyle Von Kubik, and I'm joined along with the very rude Wiggly of Trapdoor.
Hey, shut your fucking mouth.
And Keith, the Robo Duke.
Ahoy and kaboom.
Plow, 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 plow.
Okay.
Guys, what are we talking about for the final week of Shmuptember?
We are going to do Dimahoo Hum 2000.
Dimahoo.
Dimahoo Hum. Dimahoo Hum. Where's that Dimahoo coming from?
Oh.
Okay. Dimahoo Hum. By Raizing in conjunction with Capcom.
That's right.
My name is Wiggly.
Yes. And it came out in the far-off year 2000. Can't believe it's 17 years ago that this game came out.
I was in my underwear in
the arcade
20 below weather in the year 2000, waiting for the computers to crash, performing with Trapdoor. We were the only band to perform live outside in Allentown, Pennsylvania. The mayor of Allentown loved us, who then went on to be some type of state senator person.
Oh, I thought it was going to go a different direction.
No dick
went on to be some sort of pedophile.
No, that's our mayor.
He went on to be the treasurer of Pennsylvania, and his name was never mind. 2000, I was graduating from high school.
What a little baby.
A year later, I would graduate. No, because I graduated in the year 2001.
What the fuck?
So I'm the baby.
From high school?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Kyle's the baby?
Yeah. I'm the baby. Goo goo gaga.
Now, I got a question for everybody. Why was this chosen? Was it because we didn't have enough Capcom games in the can? Or was it because of the fantasy aspect? Or turtles and snails? I mean, who picked this?
I don't know.
I didn't pick it. It wasn't me. Don't look at me. While I do like Raizing a lot because they made Bloody Roar, which is really awesome fighting game.
Why don't you take all my fucking making mechanics?
Well, if we shared a sheet, we would...
Hey, let me tell you something.
Tell me.
Arcade games. What are they? Nobody knows. Hey, thanks for ruining the only fucking thing that would have gotten a laugh in that whole room. Keith.
What? I'm gonna go on record and say I don't know if that would have gotten a laugh in that room. That
would have
room
got a great laugh. But then somebody steps on. Comedy is all about timing, and he fucking right away. Nobody knows what they are, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like Stinky. By the way, thanks, Keith. Stinky has to now walk around with a bedpan. Still, from him rolling his chair over when you said that you don't like shooters.
I didn't say I don't like shooters.
Bullshit. I was in the room with him.
I said I'm not much of a shooter guy.
Oh, that's different.
That is different.
How the hell is different? I have no idea.
Neither
We're getting laid.
If you're not a fan of shooters, I don't think you're going to be a fan of Dimahoo because it is a bullet hell shooter that is incredibly difficult if you're not very skilled at threading the needle.
I like it for the first couple levels. I can handle that.
There's a lot that I like about this game, but I'm interested to know right off the bat, since we're diving into it, what didn't you guys like about it? Was it just because there was too much shit on the screen, or?
Well, first of all, this game is not hard. This game's like a one-quarter game for me.
Get the fuck out of here!
No way.
Get the
I mean, I could get through the first level at least on one quarter. But I don't like that the difficulty ramps up too much for someone of my skill level the not shooter guy.
It is weird that Capcom would get into this, and they didn't just release it for Raizing. They also worked on it with them. Probably just a little bit of direction here and there. But Bullet Hell is not something I associate with Capcom. I associate strategy shooting, like in the Gradius series and things like that, or even some of their other shooter titles, which I just named the Konami game instead of a Capcom game, I just realized. What were Capcom's space shooters? Dimahoo, I think.
Yeah, well, to me, this game sort of reminds me of Sekio titles.
Yes.
But not with the sort of Sekio finesse. And that's not to say that I don't like the game, because I do, even though I'm terrible at it and I spend a lot of credits getting through it. But in the year 2000, yes, it's strange for Capcom to be diving into a bullet hell game when really Capcom had defined itself as, especially in the late 90s and 2000s, as the fighting game company in the arcades.
Yeah.
Where Sekio was the bullet hell shooter type game. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but there's reasons I say that as far as making mechanics. Let's talk about the plot. There's mole men goblins from underground, and they're fucking shit up, and you have to play as one of 4, then 8 bounty hunters to shoot them and collect stuff. Are you great?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it does have a high fantasy aspect for Bullet Hell, like I mentioned,
so
the turtles and snails.
So a lot of people say, "Oh, this is a medieval fantasy game." Oh yeah, I don't remember there being fucking fighting jets in my Dungeons and Dragons. This reminds me very much thematically of maybe you guys will agree or disagree. It reminds me a lot of Phantasy Star or Shining Force, where there is that high fantasy, but there's also this technology element in there where there's swords, but there's also laser cannons.
A game like that would be, well, you could say Elemental Masters, but not really. The game that you're really looking for is Philios for the Genesis. And that game, you're flying a winged horse. You actually go through castles, and there's a chained up blonde princess that you fight for at the end and stuff like that. So Philios, if you ever want to play that, it's not a bad game for the Genesis. Genesis had some pretty good shooters. They weren't as bright and colorful and fun as the TurboGrafx shooters, in my humble opinion, but nothing can really beat Thunder Force series on there. Thunder Force 2 was even pretty good. Thunder Force 3 was excellent. Thunder Force 4, you have like Slowdown. But we're not talking about the Thunder Forces for the Genesis. That's a different show, maybe one day.
Yeah.
So let me go through some making mechanics now that we have it out of the way, that you could pick from 4 players. Grand Prix was similar to this. You had spaceships and people that just fucking flew.
Yeah, and this game is evidently a sequel to that.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it is. It's a part of this trilogy that I had no idea existed, and that was the first game that I thought of while playing it was Kingdom Grand Prix. You can check out our review of that at wetalkgames.com/in-the-can.
Right. Just right off the top, a better shooter all around. And I think it's similar enough. I mean, it's not exactly. I mean, there's no racing element and things like that.
No,
but
and I think the racing element in that game is what makes it more enjoyable.
That's true.
Than this game, because it kind of flipping the script and taking a genre and blending in another genre just barely.
It's called a genre jumper, remember?
Jumper, yeah. That's easy to say.
It's a phrase I remember I created.
But it
really took off.
Yeah, it did. It was a big hit in the Borscht Belt. Yes. This game has a mechanic in it that I'm just itching to talk about, but I'll wait till the end of the making mechanics. But it doesn't hit as hard as Kingdom Grand Prix did with its mechanic of that racing aspect.
All right, man. Let me get into my making mechanics, because they're probably the most extensive, and then I'll hear from you fellas. First, we start with Toplin. I'm not going to go all the way back to shooters, but I want to try to stick with the games that are shooter hell-ish. Toplin, we already reviewed a Toplin game from 1993 called Knuckle Bash, which was nothing like... It was not a shooter. Yes. That was the pro wrestling style haymaker. So 1993, Batsugan came out by Toplin. And Batsugan, I would rather play Batsugan from 1993, 7 years earlier, than I would like to play Dimahoo. Although I do like to say Dimahoo. But I wish it was Dimahoo.
I like Keith's Dial-A-Ho. I remember that
Dial-A-Ho?
hotline back in the 90s. Yeah. I got in trouble. My parents were fucking pissed.
Were they? Smurf berries? Oh.
No.
So Toplin went bankrupt, and they became a couple different corporations. One was Raizing, and Kingdom Grand Prix came out in 1994. Also did Kingdom Grand Prix. 1994. And as Keith mentioned, the Bloody Roar series would come out of Raizing as well. Bloody Roar and Hudson, 1977, 1999 for 2. 3 was 2001, 2002. That was your Primal Furry. Is that what it was called, Keith? Primal Furry?
I'm not sure.
No, Fury. Okay, so
That's a different game altogether.
yeah, and then Dimahoo, of course, in the year 2000. They also were responsible for the Gogol 13 games, but the 1999, 2000, and 2001 Gogol 13, and those were also in conjunction with Namco. So Raizing working with a lot of different companies, Hudson, Namco, and also Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, was co-developed by Capcom and Raizing in 2011. And another weird one with Capcom was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. Why would Raizing be doing Monster Hunter 3? And that was for the 3DS in 2011 as well. So they're still around in 2011. Now, we are in 2017, which we need to remember.
Right.
Another company that Toplin became was Takumi Corporation, and they were responsible for the Gigawing series. Gigawing, an amazing title, Gigawing and Gigawing 2, 1999 and year 2000. Once again, rather play those, but they also made Mars Matrix Hypersolid Shooting in 2000, and I'm pretty sure that we decided to do Shootout instead of Mars Matrix.
No.
Oh, we already
that's
did
not
Mars
right.
Matrix.
Yes.
That's right. Okay.
WeTalkGames.com/in-the-can.
I'm pretty sure that's the one we totally canned, though.
Is that the one that you and I did? No.
Yeah, that we couldn't get past like the second level because we suck.
Yes. Fuck that shit. Don't even bring it up.
And the most shootery company that Toplin became was Cave. And they came out with the Down Patch series, which was in 1995. They also did that with Atlas. They did the Dodon Patch in 1997, which is a favorite of Johnny Capcom's. Sleep Slope Sliders. Sleep Slope Sliders.
Say that
Sleep Slope Sliders, 1998 with Sega. And one of my favorite games, ESP Radi. Also, you could check that out in the...
We did talk about that.
In the game store. And not only that, that came out, I'm almost positive, for the iPad or iPhone, and it's actually good. There's a couple Cave games that came out on the iPad and iPhone that, even though they're bullet hells, you can actually navigate as long as you use the iPad and not like the iPhone. Another game that they did with Jadical was Poco. They also did the Dangang Fever SOS, and I don't think I wanted to really say all these. And then, of course, the Dodo Patch Daioju, which came out in 2002. They released that at PGM.
That's called Super Mario Brothers 2 here in the U.S.
Right.
So it's a stupid joke.
It's not really a Mario. And they also did SB Galuga. They also did
Baby Beluga.
Espeluga in 2003, which is pretty much like ESP Radi or Esperadi or Esperada or ESP Rada, or we never know how to say it. But that's another favorite of Johnny Capcom's Espegaluga. Loogie. And that might have come out. Now, Pink Sweets is another game you need to check out. Pink Sweets. By the way, I now have a stutter and a pass out. So that's what happens to me. Pink Sweets, you might know. Yes, Pink Sweets, you might know it as Ibarra Sorakara.
Of course.
Also Mario Brothers 4 for the Supervision, and he was called RITEEMO. Also check out Moochie Moochie Pork. That came out in 2007 by Cave. And
Man, we're really in the woods now.
Yeah. There were actually 2 more Dodone Patch games. Dodone Patch Dai Fucka Stew in 2008 and Don Patch Saidai Ujo. Wait, I think I said those. No, 2012. Another one came out. I don't know why. One came out in 2002 and another in 2012. Don't ask me. Now, I did want to get into the versions of home console games, but before I do that, I think we're better than this.
Yeah.
I would like you to go ahead and give me any making mechanics you have. Keith, why don't you go first, since you're crying and mad at me?
Huh?
Keith, wake up. Why don't you go first? Do you have any making mechanics?
I think he fell asleep.
Not really. The only other game it made me think of a little bit was Cotton, just for the fantasy edge to it. I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a very similar shooter, but that did remind me of it a little bit. The other would be, I think Ikaruga is the one where you switch between the 2 different colors in the shooting genre to make yourself immune to the different bullets.
Yeah, that one's a vertical shooter as well, right?
Yeah, that one is vertical. Cotton's horizontal, correct?
Yeah, it's horizontal. You go up and down in all different directions, but yes, it's horizontal.
Yeah, it made me think of that more of with the anime design to the characters and the slight fantasy edge. While it's not magical girl or witch based, it still is. You got your dragon guy flying out there, and I think some of these characters transform into their jets and fly. I'm not really sure what's going on, but
you got dragons strapped to Boeings and bombers and whatnot.
Very interesting bosses.
And that's why I really like this game is that. But that's it. Just the Ikaruga, because this has that same mechanic, though it does not work as well or as fast as it does in Ikaruga. So,
do you have any? Making mechanics?
1971 fucking computer space. Who gives a shit?
Well, wait. I want to talk about these better titles.
All right.
I mentioned Philios, and even though that is a fantasy-based vertical shooter, it's not really that great. I think it's better than this game. Actually, I want to go to Radiant Silvergun, 1998. 1998, 2 years before this game came out, Treasure made Radiant Silvergun for the Saturn, and that game just completely blows this away. But we can go back to even 10 years before that, 1989 minus a year, and Gunhead, or Blazing Lasers, was released in the United States, which is not as pretty as some games. It's not a bullet hell either, but it's a really good game and lots of different weapons and just a much better title that I would rather have people play. Spriggan does have that fantasy aspect, and that was made by Naxat and Compile, and that was released in 1991, 9 years earlier than this, and Spriggan 2, Spriggan, was released in 1992. I often talk about that game. And
we're really dumping our shooter load on this episode.
Well, almost. Another good one for the PC Engine is Psychic Storm, made by Lasersoft and Telnet, and that was released in 1992. So all these, the Radiant Silvergun, the Spriggan 2, I would stick with, I don't know, I might not like Spriggan better, but Psychic Storm, they all have fantasy elements, and Psychic Storm is one of those titles where you collect the little orbs. You have 3 orbs, and depending on what order you put those orbs in is what type of shot you get. So you try to avoid, maybe you went all blue and it does a certain type of laser beam, or maybe you went 2 red and 1 blue and then it does a different type in the greens and the things like that. So it has that element as well as a little bit of fantasy, not fantasy like this. So let's talk about this game here, Dimahoo.
Dimahoo has this mechanic that we keep skirting around where you can change the elemental orientation of your ship either between ice blue or fire red. What does that do? Well, if you're red, your shots will absorb fire element shots. If you're blue, it'll absorb ice element shots that are blue, which is helpful because you can actually clear up the board a little bit from some of the hazards on the screen when enemies are giving these barrage of bullets. Here's where it fails, and I think Keith started to touch on this with his making mechanics. It's barely used in this game. And
if they made it a one-button press, it would be a lot better.
Yes, instead of that weird charge mechanic where you sort of cycle between red, blue. It's sort of this snapping mechanic. I feel like if the game utilized this mechanic a little bit more, it would have been more interesting. In Sekio titles, they would come up with some sort of gimmick to dump into this bullet hell genre to make it a little bit more interesting. Like, was it Panic Bomber with the claw? You'd grab the enemy and you shoot the enemy back at the ships. You need something like this, otherwise it's just sort of generic. And this game isn't generic in thematically, but it feels mechanically kind of generic for a bullet hell shooter, especially one that came out in the year 2000.
Yeah, it doesn't do enough. This is where my problem with shooters like this come in, is there is so much attention to detail in all the enemies you fight, in everything that's going on the ground. You know, in the first level, you have all these villagers who are waving at you as you're blowing up all the enemies, or, you know, there's a little family getting chased out of the woods and you somehow shoot these goblins from thousands of feet in the air, but you kill them and they are celebrating and waving at you, and all that stuff looks great. But the instant you take your eye off your ship, you're dead.
Yeah, blow, blay, or blip about this game, and I think it will help people who are going to venture into this title if they haven't been warned off already. Because I think it's a decent game. It's not a bad game. It's not interesting past its art style and sound direction, right?
Yeah.
But don't get confused by your sprite, because your hitbox is different from your sprite, and your hitbox is the cockpit of that ship that you're flying.
Yeah.
If you know that, you'll be able to thread a little bit better, and you won't make these sort of jumpy, jerky, nervous reactions to all the shit you see on the screen, which will eventually kill you because you're not aware of what your hitbox is.
See, I don't even consider this game a bullet hell. I consider it a game that's trying to be a bullet hell but doesn't know how. And I'll explain why. First of all, you do have those 4 characters, and each 4 characters behaves differently, and they all have their stats. So
who did everybody play as?
I played as 2 different characters, and I don't. Their names were unremarkable to me.
I played mostly as the for beginner character, Carte the sorceress. So Kyle liked to play as Solo Bang the warrior. Yes. He's for medium type, so you're size medium when it comes to shooters. I'm size beginner.
There's nothing medium about that comb sword, Keith.
No, and the comb swords also seem to be his little options, you know, which you need to do that red and blue mechanic. So that's my thing. Is he literally transforming into the jet? Or, you know, because you have the Dragon Man who's flying.
Yes.
In the bonus characters, there's, you know, a robot that I'm assuming this woman is flying in, which, just real quick, this kind of boggled me because Wiggly mentioned he thought it was fake, but I did eventually get the code to work. Yes. To get the other 4 characters. Miyamoto the Dragon is one of them, Gremlin the Necromancer. But when you unlock those other 4 characters now, the first 4 say, like, if it's for expert, if it's for a beginner type, it gives speed, power, range, and how powerful their bomb is.
Right.
But for the bonus characters, all the stats are different. And for each character, they're completely different. So they literally give you nothing. You know, like Gain the Battler, who was in the Kingdom Grand Prix.
Yes.
Now the stats are danger, heart, rapid, speed. Yeah,
they're using the stats from the older games. That
that what they look? Oh, okay, because it's like for danger. Like, so if I want to live dangerously, or if I want to be a dreamer, I got to play Cheetah, the magic user, which I think was the. If you go back and listen to Kingdom Grand Prix, which you should, WeTalkGames.com/InTheCan. I think that was the one Wiggly had played as in that game, because she had a. Oh no, maybe it was Birthday. I don't know.
Well, all I know is because the name was Shitta. So
yes, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and she returns in this game as well as
returns in this game.
Returns. Exactly.
So go ahead, Wiggly. What were you going to get into?
Well, I guess I was the dragon. I was the heavy. Whoever was the heaviest, the most powerful. That's
Miyamoto.
Miyamoto. And the reason why is because a bullet hell game is mostly movements left to right or up and down, because you have to find where the bullets are not converging, and you make small movements left to right and up and down. This game had me all over the fucking place. That's why I had to be one of the quicker characters then, because there was no way that I was going to be able to continue to be in that one space, because they didn't do the one space long enough. They completely changed where things are now. In a lot of bullet hells, sometimes you do move around a lot, but mainly in the bosses, you don't do that.
Yeah, you just tap.
Exactly, and that was the other problem with these bosses, is that there was no foreshadowing to allow you to know what the different bullets coming at you would do. There's usually a boss character will do maybe 4 or 5 different moves at you, but you always get to see one of their bullets do something one time before it can try to hit you with it. Like, it shoots out a little turtle or something, and the turtle blows up in 19 pieces, and you try to get out of the way or whatever. This one just threw the special weird shots at you, and they would almost clip you every single time because it didn't give you a chance to understand what was going on. But mainly, the main part why I don't consider this as a bullet hell is because it's sort of like that amalgam of a regular shooter and a bullet hell, but you have to move all over the screen in zigzags and wigwags and everything else. And that's what I don't consider a bullet hell. Now, I know that Keith considers Geometry Wars a bullet hell, and that's what everybody mentions it as, but that's a different type of game. That's a game where you just run like a nut and try to shoot in all different directions that you can, and that's more like a Berserk. I think Geometry Wars is more like Berserk on steroids that took some caffeine.
No, I'm not talking about the console. Yeah, I'm not talking about the console, but it is a 360 shooter, right?
Exactly.
Because your ship is spinning around 360 degrees.
Yes.
But
I'm not a shooter guy, man. I don't know all the different genres.
No. This
if there's too many things on the screen, I'm in hell. It's a bullet hell.
No, that's not against you at all. That's not against you. And we don't know what some games are just bullet.
You're just atoning for your sins, dude.
Yeah. Some of them are just bullet Hades games or bullet Tartaros. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm in purgatory.
There you go. Bullet purgatory. That's what this game is, more like a bullet purgatory.
It's
really
right in the middle.
Hell. Yeah. It's really not. And it seems like a different team developed each different enemy, and each different boss was developed by a completely different team that didn't even look at what the other teams were doing. Yeah, they were really dissimilar.
I think that happens with the mechanic.
You mean in behaviors, not in art direction, right?
Right, in behaviors.
Yeah, because I definitely saw like a continuity between the characters and what you're fighting, and you're fighting a giant samurai mech suit, and then later on you're fighting the giant head from that mech suit. Mm-hmm. So there was definitely continuity in that respect. But in the behaviors, I guess I agree. I mean, I agree in the sense that it does seem like it's Capcom dipping their foot into what they think is a bullet hell shooter. And you are moving around the screen a lot more than you normally would. Yeah,
I think the first 3 levels are more like bullet hell. And then the rest, especially 5, it's just like, this is not what a bullet hell is supposed to be.
It doesn't feel possible.
Running out of money? Well, exactly, that's true.
And that's what a bullet hell should feel like. That is, if you are skilled enough, you can get through this on 1 quarter because you know where to be. But as you mentioned, all the different bullet types on the screen. You got the red and the blues, which if you are red, it's supposed to lower your power down, or if it's blues, you get hit. And yeah, someone came up with that idea, while someone else came up with the giant turtles that shoot, and then eventually the bullets start changing direction. It doesn't work well together, which doesn't make a good shooter if you can't find the path, and you can't.
Thanks for bringing that up. I did forget about that with that red-blue mechanic. That is the other thing that happens there, is if you get hit with red shots, instead of it killing you, it just powers you down. But again, not used enough to actually mean anything.
Because you can't switch quick enough to do it. You have to press, hold the button, and if the bullet's coming at you, you're not going to switch in time to not get blown up by it.
A lot of voice in here, and then it says power up when you, I think it says power up, which is something like that, when you get a good speed, and then it says power down when you get hit 1 time before you get murdered. But before he says power down, he goes, uh-oh, or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, on the screen.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. And he says,
and then when you get to the boss, there's some real warbled like warning, I say fire now, and then
I love all that though.
I love it too, but it's not. It's trying to be Darius, and it can't be.
No, but the bosses I really love in the game, that each level starts with like a wanted poster. You get this image, like a villager came to you and said, "Oh my God, this giant turtle with a castle on its back just came stomping through here." And then you get there, and it's Dino Riders, a giant turtle with cannons on its back. So it's kind of close to that. Or later in the game where someone's like, "Oh, 2 giant pterodactyls attacked us," and that's what the image looks like. Then it's actually just fighter jets. Or my favorite being the giant mech head you mentioned, where it literally looks like Father Winter or like a wind god just blowing, and then it's a giant mech head. It's fantasy and it's not, but that's where the game shines, is in that. Not
it has the same
mechanics that were not thought out far enough.
Right. I think it has the same humor and tempo and direction as Kingdom Grand Prix. It just, if it doesn't come, like the piece that's missing from the puzzle is that gameplay element where it's unremarkable, or it's just there.
It's also a big boss run. There's so many bosses per level. The mid bosses are just like end bosses. I sort of like that if they would have acted more like bullet hell bosses. But I really liked it, and the reason why was because of this art direction. Can you remember some of these really cool things? Of course, as soon as I saw Turtles, I was like, all over that. I'm a big Gamera fan. So when I saw Turtles and they had all type of, it might have been Turtle Ship. I don't know.
Bus Turtle, I think it was. Bus Turtle was the name
I
of the first.
cannot remember. They had way too long, like Japanese style, giant battle, death castle, turtle, baruga or something. I don't really know. And all of them would be that. One was like giant drill robot drill zoid. I don't know. I didn't. And it pops up on the screen so fast that, once again, I can't pay attention to that because I need to make sure I'm not getting blown up. Though I do like, what happens? Oh, right before the boss shows up, like a bunch of bones come rolling on the screen. Form a warning sign.
It's Exterminator all of a sudden. Weird.
So we touched on the turtle. I'm pretty sure he's called Bus Turtle. He's the first boss you fight. He's got all this crap on his back. There's also these giant mechs that we've discussed. The robotic spider was one of my favorite bosses.
Oh, size spider.
We'll just keep saying Psy over again. Psy. It was something like that. Yeah.
This show is really a tongue twister.
Yeah. So I wrote him down as my favorite boss, but one of my favorite enemies on the stage was, and I forget what level this was, but if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons or high fantasy, you're familiar with mimics, which are treasure chests that are actually monsters.
Oh, yes.
And they appear in this game, and it took me by surprise, like a mimic would in a fantasy game.
Yeah.
I love all the giant monster stuff.
They all were them. There wasn't like a regular treasure chest, was there? Or were there?
No, they all were mimics.
Yeah, they all were. Yeah. So that was kind of neat.
They were easy kill, but if you thought that they were just treasure, you'd get hit.
Yeah. One thing that made this game special and warm to my heart was trying to play Dragon Saber on the Raspberry Pi in your living room, Kyle, because there were snails in this one.
Yes. Oh, I thought you were talking about it getting completely fucked when we were playing it. Well, the layers were all messed up, but the snails.
But it had snails, and this game also has snails that shoot at you. So
their top of their shells pop open and shooting out bullets, and even leave little slime trails too. There's such attention to detail.
Why do women have legs?
Oh no! Stop.
So they don't leave slime trails everywhere they go.
Jeez. Should be ashamed.
No, that's good.
Comedy is not pretty.
It's about timing, right, Wiggly?
Yes. That's right.
I'll remember that next time I'm nervous as shit doing my first panel ever.
Wiggly, say the joke again so Keith can step on the punchline.
Why don't women have legs?
So they don't leave slime trails?
Oh my God. How was that?
I have to ask you like a question too. I don't know, but it's obvious I know, because that's comedy.
Now, why is your ass crack vertical instead of horizontal?
Oh, I don't know.
Because if you fell down a step, it would hardly go.
So dumb.
I have a lot of genital distortion jokes.
Did you get them all from a book you read on a podcast?
No, mostly my mom.
Oh, whoa. Nice.
So,
Wiggly's mom is cool.
let's talk about that pterodactyl, because I love pterodactyls too. Yeah, it's got fucking jet engine wings and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are beautiful.
Red one. Yeah, I don't know. Do they like meld together? It seems like there's like two baby jets, and then when you beat them, the big mom jet comes flying in from the top of the screen. That's both red and blue, and a total pain in the ass.
I don't know. I fell asleep
did
when I was playing
anybody
this.
count up their quarters for this game? Because Kyle and I had thought about trying to do that, and
I have too many tick marks on my sheet when I was trying to do that.
Mine would have been about 2 rolls, and they only really started piling up towards after level 5.
Yeah, mine was around 4. I think around 4 or 5. I had spent around 16 quarters. So
And you got to think back in the year
Wait a minute,
2000,
then
this
that means
probably
you're a
would have
lot
been
better than
75
me.
cents per credit.
No. I had gotten to that when I got to that level. By the time I get to 4 and 5, I'm spending like $3 a level. Like it's I'm not terrible at shooters, but like I'm not good at. No, they suck. Fucking shooters. Hope Wiggly.
Happy Shmuptember, everybody.
Hope Stinky falls inside his bedpan.
Well, see, that's the only reason I'm mad at you, Keith, is because he carries that bedpan around. He doesn't empty it but twice a day.
Oh God, I'm really sorry, man. I mean, I gotta somehow mend this bridge. I gotta mend this bridge somehow. Maybe I'll come over and play some like Atari Pac-Man with them or something.
Like, why is there a straw in it? It's like,
oh God,
what?
Gross. Yeah, you ain't kidding. Hey, if you didn't throw up this show, forget it. You're good.
Can I throw out like a weird theory as to why Capcom would dive back into shooters?
Definitely. They made 1942. Okay, so I forget.
That's why I think they kind of defined good. Konami and Capcom defined what shooters were in the 80s.
Yeah.
Particularly with 1942, and I feel like they saw this trend in Japan in the late 90s, early 2000s, where bullet hells were a thing, very popular, and they were like, hey, we built the foundation of this franchise or this genre. We can do this. And I just don't think they did. I think they made an interesting game thematically, but they didn't make an interesting shooter. But
they were like, we're going to do it with Raizing. How can we go wrong? You know?
Yeah, because they have a track record of making great shooters. But I guess
for furries.
And for furries. I guess that's why, I didn't think of it in the way that you described it, Wiggly, but I do agree. It is maybe too many ingredients in the pot or too many ideas instead of just narrowing it in and saying like, okay, this is the formula of a bullet hell and let's add in the red-blue mechanic. Would have been great. It's just not used enough. I keep saying that, but it's true. It's like I like that when it works. But yes, as Keith said, like trying to switch between at the right time. It's like, fuck this. I'll just use my regular shot, because at the end of the day, it seems, at least for me, that I was getting the same results. Yeah, it was cool to see my shot sweeping other shots off the screen or not taking damage by happenstance. But when I went with the regular shot, I was still avoiding enemies and avoiding shots the same way as when I was using the fire element or the ice element.
Yeah,
it shouldn't have been that way.
Did we mention this is a 3-button game back in the beginning?
No, not yet.
No, okay. But I'll mention that now. So it's, one is your regular, one's a turbo, your third button, your middle button's the bomb, and then the other one is the one that lets you hold and charge and switch between, which lets you do a really cool attack when you let go of the button. But once again, it takes so long to charge it up. You're better off just holding the turbo button the entire time. Here's my blow, blay, or blip. Use your bombs more for avoiding getting killed than actually hurting enemies. Like when the screen really starts filling up to the point where you're like, who thought this out? None of these patterns work together. That's when you want to drop the bomb to make sure to avoid the enemies.
And I found it pretty liberal with bombs. If you're not used to shooter hell games, basically you just try to find a place in the pattern of bullets and not really worry about shooting so much. And
don't aim. You just kind of look at your That's why it annoys me that this game is so beautiful and wonderfully thematic, because I have to stare at my ship if I don't want to die and spend 6 rolls of quarters.
Right, so you're not enjoying everything that it's presenting you. What I will give it credit for, though, is unlike Mars Matrix, it doesn't put all of this beautiful artwork and audio design behind a wall where, oh, you died, now you go to the beginning of the stage again. Yeah. Which that sucks. So at least, in the realm of MAME and emulation, you just keep hitting credits through, and you can go through the game once, twice, 3 times a lady and enjoy it.
And switch your characters every time you die, so you don't have to play through the game multiple times to give every character a try, which I recommend. It's fun. Just see all the see the Necromancer unleash his spooky ghost swarm as. And I thought
that was one dude. Cool. It's actually 3 little dudes. The Necromancer.
Yeah, but he was like one guy in the earlier games, but I think they just went crazier with the character design and said, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's ruin the last boss, can we? Because that was something I really enjoyed.
Please do.
Well, you fight a big giant boss, and then all of a sudden he's a tiny ninja.
Yes. Yeah, he's really fucking hard.
I love that you're this big, shooter ship, and here you're fighting a little ninja with a sword. But yeah, he deals out bullets. There's no doubt about it. But he's just this little guy fucking running around. And I thought that was a big twist.
It was. And then he jumps in a giant mech, right? After you beat him up a bit, and he jumps in a big old mech and starts fighting you in his ninja mech, jumping around. That is so cool.
That sprite play is done very well. Like Boogie Wings is another example of this, or in Kingdom Grand Prix, where you have very, very tiny sprites that are, I wouldn't say proportionate to your ship, but kind of makes sense. Like, it's a man outside of a ship on the ground versus the giant turtle, gunship Yamada coming towards you. But I like when the game does that. And the Mimic was another example of that, where it was a very small treasure chest that looked like it's a collectible item, because there's lots of collectible items in this game. And then it attacks you,
Yeah.
Too many, not sure what they all do.
Exactly. Right. Giant P, it's got to be good. What did it do? I don't know.
I think there's the little fairies holding the treasure chests, and when you shoot them, they drop what gives you your options and powers them up. The gold powers up your regular shots. Oh, and then you can pick up more of the little gems that you trail behind you, which are your bombs or your magic attacks.
That's
I guess your big magics.
That's what we didn't mention is your bombs or magic bombs. They do trail behind you like a tail, so you know exactly how many bombs you have without having to look at some type of number at the bottom because they're hanging out your ass like dingleberries.
Yeah, because you gotta keep your eye on that 1 pixel in the center of your guy or his head or the cockpit to make sure
that's the problem.
You don't die.
That's the problem. But
that's the problem with making something this cool.
Yeah. All the enemy ships, though, they will have little drivers in them. So maybe you can't see them, but they're there. And some of them are like on the outside of the ship, just loving it like a convertible. They're convertible rides.
Yes.
So that's about this. That's its game. That's this game. Really, that's all it is. It's Dimahoo Hum, but it is by Capcom and Raizing.
Right.
And
you made Bloody Roar, right? That's
Raizing did Bloody Roar. Bloody Roar 2, Bloody Roar 3, Bloody Roar 4, and I think
Bloody Furries conventions.
Yes, that's right.
Too bloody, too furious.
Yeah.
They took my favorite characters out after the first Bloody Roar. That really annoyed me. They had a gorilla guy and the wild boar woman, and they're gone after the first game, and they were both awesome. The gorilla guy had a top hat.
Yeah, that's true. Where were you fighting in front of the aquarium? I like that with the big whale.
I think that's the second or the third one. I don't think that's the first
on those games when I worked at the video game store.
On Bloody Roar,
I was like, no, man, you don't know how to play it then.
Exactly. Me and my friends, this was probably the most competitive we ever got in fighting games was with Bloody Roar. Me and my buddy Dave will forever be Nemesis in Bloody Roar.
Yeah, because it was sort of like a 3D version of Darkstalkers, I think. Because you can only be your animal for so long, and then I don't know, a lot of elements in it.
Save it for the show. I'm gonna have to add it to or maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be in a furry based month that Stinky will have next year.
Furry berry.
February.
Yeah, February.
February is on the list. It's in June.
Oh,
Yes.
February.
Yes.
Yeah.
Furry-berary.
Oh, furry-based games. Oh, God. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I took responsibility for Stinky
You
at
left him
Expo, and
the Expo, and now we have to suffer through a year chock full of themed months.
I step on jokes. I leave the guy in the toilet asleep. I'm just fucking up, guys. I don't know, but great
Keith is.
Shmuptember, huh?
I liked it,
I like.
guess.
Is this the last episode of it?
It is. That's it. Next week starts Spooktacular.
Why is this still going?
Yeah.
Inkless Stales, just like Sorry But Scott Bakula was the best captain. Aren't we like 3 weeks removed from this? Why are these tweets still getting liked? What happened with Stinky made one tweet? I can't believe it. How long this is going? Like Star Trek Day was at the top of the month.
I know, and he's become increasingly more popular. So watch your ass, Keith, because the power is going to his head and bedpan.
Oh gosh, God damn.
And his Star Trek fucking podcast is blowing up. Why? It's terrible.
I kind of like it.
Okay.
I'm not a big Star Trek guy, so
his take
casual
on things
look
is,
at it, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people out there listening to it, ironically. Let me remind everybody, whatever service you're listening to this podcast now on, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, or something else, please go on that service, leave us a rating or review. It helps propagate the brand, helps support the show without costing you anything, and be a part of our social media scene. We're on Reddit, r/WeTalkGames. You can tell us how much we suck. Go on over to Twitter at We Talk Games and Facebook.com/WeTalkGames. Guys, it's been another Shmuptember, another themed month. Thank you very much for diving into Dimahoo with me. For Keith the Robo Duke, Wiggly Check of Trapdoor, I am Kyle Von Kubik, and I will talk at you again next week.